Hey everybody, this is DWTV 2010, and today I will be talking about submachine guns. So here I have my submachine gun class. Here I have the AK-74U with extended mags, the CZ-75 with fully auto attachment, the Semtex grenades, flashbangs, a claymore. My perks are Ghost, Steady Aim, and Marathon. Okay, so all those submachine guns. Well, I haven't unlocked all of them, but I have played with all of them, and here's what I have to think about them. The MP5K, I personally do not like that much. It has very low accuracy, so I'm not a big fan of it. The Scorpion has no range whatsoever, so I stay away from it completely. The Mac 11 is an interesting gun. It has a very high fire rate. It has a pretty low clip, but it's actually effective. Like I used to use it in search, and it was effective. It worked. It did work. So I like this gun, but I don't suggest you use it if you're new to the game. But yeah, because you have to have pretty good accuracy. An AK-74U, and you probably hear this a lot. That it's the best machine gun, and in my opinion, I think it is. It just is. It's the most well-rounded, and you can add any attachment to it, and it could work well. But I tend to use extended mags because I just like to go. I like to charge bases with this gun and fire, and that's why I use steady aim too. And so I always like to have enough ammo in my gun. The Uzi, I tend to stay away from this gun. It's not that good, and it's just not that good. Like this gun is better in every way. The PM63, PM63, okay, it's okay. I'm not a fan of the iron sights though, but overall as a gun in the game, it's pretty good. Now the MPL. Uh, I like this gun actually. I do. It has an interesting iron sight, but it works well. It has a high fire rate, and that it seems to complement the iron sight pretty well actually. And the clip size is pretty good, so I like this gun too. And then the Spectre, uh, it's okay. It's honestly okay. I haven't used this gun that too much. The iron sight's kind of awkward, so I do not like to use the iron sight. So if you end up using this gun, you should probably use a red dot sight. And so my three favorite guns are AK-74U like first, the MPL second, Mac 11 third, maybe PM63 fourth. Okay, so for attachments, if you're going with a submachine gun, I strongly suggest you use extended mags, or grip, or suppressor. Yes, I know that sounds like a lot of options, but if you want to rush, I strongly suggest you use extended mags, or grip, or both if you want to. But you have to have one of these two. And if you're doing like a search, or if you want to stay in the back, maybe defensive role and like capture the flag, suppressor might work too. But I strongly suggest you use these three attachments because you do not really need any of the other ones. Unless you want to use rapid fire and have an extremely high fire rate. Camo is not helpful. So for reticles, if you do choose to use a red dot sight, I suggest that you look at my other video. It talks about the reticles, and that reticle works universally. So yeah. Okay, secondary. There are really only two things that you should use. You should either use the CZ75. Actually, no, three. Python, you could use the dual wield pythons or the speed reloader. The CZ75 with fully auto upgrade, because that works the best in my opinion. I think it's just really helpful. Or you could use ballistic knife, because that works too. Okay, for grenades, Semtex is my opinion the best thing to go with if you're using a submachine gun class, because the odds are you're not going to be sticking back, unless you're not going to be camping and shooting for like long distances. And Semtex grenade doesn't throw as far, so it's more practical when you're rushing someone. For tactical grenades, it's your choice, but flashbang I think seems to work the best for me. Equipment, this is a tough one, but I tend to use claymores because I'm the most comfortable with it. I'm used to having a claymore as my equipment, so I tend to use the claymore. But any of these could work depending on what game mode you're playing. So for perks, perk one, it depends on your playstyle. If you don't want them to know who you are, Ghost, Hardline also works, and Lightweight works. Scavenger you don't need, and Flak Jacket you don't really need it. So any of these three work. I tend to use with this class and Ghost. So. Okay, perk two. I strongly suggest steady aim or sleight of hand. I'm saying this because when you use a submachine gun and you're rushing, like I heard this in a different video that if you're using if you're not using steady aim, it doesn't feel like you're doing it right. And I think that rule applies to this very well. So I tend to use steady aim. Perk three, marathon. Just plain and simple, marathon. So yeah, those are my suggestions on what submachine guns to use. So now here's some gameplay of my favorite submachine guns.